lot of great players that get waived or cut from rosters, so I'm not worried at all. But we did
Reports are coming in that Commissioner Cathy Engelbert is facing major legal pressure after Brionna Jones allegedly came forward with explosive claims that could shake the league to its core. According to Brionna, this is not just about locker room drama or team politics. She claims Engelbert actively worked to keep key information about Brittney Griner's eligibility under wraps, silenced potential whistleblowers, and forced players to accept decisions that many believed went against league guidelines. Fans online are already calling this one of the biggest cover-up scandals in sports history, and the receipts are starting to surface. What makes this story even more shocking is Brionna's claim that this cover-up wasn't just about protecting Brittney Griner, it was about holding her back. She suggests that if Brittney had never returned to the league, she could have been the face of the WNBA right now, right alongside Caitlin Clark. Instead, Brionna says she was sidelined, overlooked, and even blamed for a controversy she never started. To understand how we got here, we need to rewind to 2022 when Brittney Griner was detained in Russia and the entire league went into crisis mode. With their biggest star gone, the WNBA was scrambling for a new face, a new story, a new way to market the game. That's when Brionna Jones started to rise, earning Most Improved Player in 2021 and 6th Woman of the Year in 2022. All while putting up starter-level stats. The Connecticut Sun even launched a full-on CoverGirl-style campaign to promote her as the league's next superstar. Now, with Brionna speaking out, the question is unavoidable. Did Cathy Engelbert and the WNBA deliberately derail Brionna's rise to protect Brittney Griner's comeback? And if the allegations are true, what does this mean for the commissioner's future and for the WNBA itself?
The Sun have been sporting t-shirts with Jones' picture on them with the word CoverGirl and Easy Breezy buckets as part of a campaign to help Jones win the league's Most Improved Player award this season. CoverGirl also happens to be Jones' nickname.
She was efficient, she was clutch, she was gritty. Brionna Jones wasn't just a player, she was a silent assassin in the paint, quietly carving out her own legacy while the league searched for its next big star. With Brittney Griner out of the picture, Brionna was rising fast, proving game after game that she was ready to be the face of the WNBA. But everything changed in 2023, late in the season. With just over a minute left on the clock, Brionna's Achilles gave out. In one heartbreaking moment, her season, and maybe even her meteoric rise, came to a screeching halt. Cameras caught her in tears, being helped off the court, and fans knew instantly this was bigger than just a single game. It was the end of an era that had barely begun. And that's when the WNBA reset the narrative. While Brionna was fighting through rehab, Brittney Griner made her much-publicized return to the league. Suddenly, all eyes were back on Griner. Media coverage shifted overnight. It was like Brionna's breakout years had been erased. And then came the twist no one saw coming. Brionna was shipped off to Atlanta. Instead of being celebrated as the centerpiece she had earned the right to be, she was paired with the very player she had already surpassed. The media began hyping up this so-called dominant frontcourt duo, selling it like a Cinderella comeback story. But let's be real, Brionna didn't join Brittney Griner. She was forced into her shadow. Atlanta's entire system is now built around Griner, from the coaching strategy to the press coverage. Brionna isn't just expected to play along, she's expected to smile, blend in, and accept being cast as the supporting role in someone else's story. To be clear, Brittney does publicly praise Brionna, and she's done it multiple times. But anyone paying attention can tell this is less about celebrating Brionna's talent and more about keeping the narrative clean. Because the league can't afford another star challenging the one they've worked so hard to protect.
BG, this question is actually for you. What do you think about Bree's season so far? We feel like she's been
spectacular. No, I've been on the other side of guarding Bree. She's an amazing player. Getting to play with her, seeing her basketball IQ, in practice on the court, seeing things develop. She's always talking. I'm out, telling us different things, the guards different things that she's seeing, and they're always right things. And then, what she does on the court, it's amazing.
Sounds sweet, right? Brionna getting praised by Brittney, the media hyping them up as a dream duo, everyone smiling for the cameras, but we all know that's just surface level, because behind all the highlight reels and press conferences, fans have been side-eyeing this setup for a long time. Let's be honest. Brittney Griner's return to the league was never clean. The deeper you look, the more it feels like this wasn't just about basketball, it was about protecting a bigger narrative. Fans have been pointing out the rumors for years, her voice, her build, even the way she was allegedly treated while in Russian prison. And now, according to unconfirmed leaks and insider chatter spreading online, there are claims suggesting that Brittney might not have been born biologically female. Now, to be clear, none of this has been officially confirmed by the league, but the accusations swirling around social media all point to one name at the center of it. Cathy Engelbert. Brionna Jones is alleging that Engelbert personally made sure none of this ever came out, that she blocked disclosures, silenced league officials, and protected Brittney's image at the expense of everyone else in the league, including Brionna herself. And here's where it hits even harder. If these claims are true, if Cathy Engelbert hadn't allegedly pulled strings behind the scenes, Brionna Jones might have been the face of the WNBA right now. She might have been the one leading the next generation of women's basketball. Instead, she was sidelined, traded, and turned into a background player in someone else's redemption story. Now that Brionna is finally speaking up, the pressure is on. Cathy Engelbert is reportedly facing serious legal trouble. And what's shocking fans the most is how quiet the response has been from the WNBA community. No heartfelt goodbye posts, no emotional statements, no thank you for your service. The league just moved on like nothing happened. And that silence says everything. Because the truth is, Cathy had already burned those bridges long before this scandal hit the headlines. Go back to the 2024 season. Caitlin Clark was getting dragged nonstop with racist dog whistles. Angel Reese was being called everything from too aggressive to ghetto just for showing confidence on the court. And Angel even said publicly she was getting actual death threats from Caitlin's fans. But the league stayed quiet, offering almost no protection for its players. This scandal isn't just about Brittney Griner. It's about years of silence, favoritism, and double standards. And now, it's all finally catching up with the commissioner who was supposed to protect her players.
So I think it's really just the fans, her fans, the Iowa fans, now the Indiana fans that are like, they ride for her. And I respect that respectfully, but sometimes it's very disrespectful. I think there's a lot of racism when it comes to it, and I don't think she stands on any of that. But when it comes to death threats, like I'm talking about people have come down to my address, following me home. Like it's come down to that. Multiple occasions, people have made AI pictures of me like naked, literally.
Really?
They have sent it to my family members. My family members are like, uncles are sending it to me like, are you naked on Instagram?
At that moment, the entire league was watching, waiting to see what Commissioner Cathy Engelbert would say. This wasn't just a little on-court trash talk. This wasn't just competitive fire. This was real hate spilling over from social media onto the court. And both Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese were at the center of it. Fans were expecting Cathy to step up and protect her players, to take a hard stance against the harassment, the racist dog whistles, the death threats Angel said she was receiving, and the constant online abuse Caitlin was facing. But instead, Cathy went on live TV and completely missed the moment. During a CNBC interview, she brushed the entire thing off, comparing it to Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird in the 80s. Like this was just some wholesome, nostalgic basketball rivalry. You can literally watch the clip and see her smiling while she calls the Clark vs. Reese saga a great rivalry, completely ignoring the fact that both women were being harassed in real life. Two fans. This wasn't just tone deaf, it felt insulting. Because this wasn't about basketball history, it was about two black women being attacked with racial slurs and even death threats. And the league acting like it was good for ratings.
It is a little that Bird Magic moment, if you recall, from 1979 when those two rookies came in from a big college rivalry, one white, one black. And so we have that moment with these two. But the one thing I know about sports, you need rivalry. That's what makes people watch. They want to watch games of consequence between rivals. They don't want everybody being nice to one another.
Cathy didn't just lose the fans with that interview, she lost the locker room. The WNBA isn't just any league. It's a league built by black women, carried by black women, and quite frankly, saved by black women at every stage of its history. So when players watched their own commissioner downplay something as serious as racial hate, it didn't feel like a PR mistake, it felt like betrayal. And that was just the beginning. Because Cathy didn't just minimize the hate players were facing, she also kept spinning the narrative about how much money they were really making. On national TV, Cathy told everyone that WNBA players can make up to $700,000 a year. On the surface, that sounds incredible. Like, finally, women's basketball is getting the respect and pay it deserves. But here's what she didn't say. that number only applies to a very small handful of players who combine WNBA salaries, marketing deals, and overseas contracts. The average WNBA salary is far lower, and players have been vocal about struggling to make ends meet, even while playing professional basketball at the highest level. Watch this clip closely. During a segment about the league's growth, Cathy avoids mentioning the actual average salary and instead leans on those inflated top-earner numbers to make it sound like the pay gap problem has been solved. And that's exactly why so many players stopped trusting her, because instead of fighting to fix the system, she seemed more interested in selling a version of the league that didn't match reality.
There's been a lot of discussion from the draft and onward about the vast disparity in pay between the WNBA and the NBA. So how do you think about changing the economics of the business so that there's more parity there? Like, how patient do the players have to be?
Yeah, I think, we try to do business of basketball sessions with the players every year to talk about how sports works from a revenue perspective and expense perspective. And this is my old life coming into handy. I'm a CPA licensed in 3 states. And, it's hard for players and the media and everybody to understand what we're building here, and that we had to raise that capital to deploy it against things like marketing and expanding the league and working with our broadcast partners and globalization and bringing more fans into the funnel and a digital transformation. So it's hard for them to understand on the face of it why we are where we are, but we're also only going into our 28th season. The men's sports leagues, most of three of the big 4 are over 100 years old in the NBA, obviously in their 77th year. So they have a big head start on us, but we're trying to build something big here. We're trying to drive an economic model that's sustainable and that we're viewed as a legitimate sports media and entertainment growth property. I've been adding growth property in there. And ultimately, we're building a revenue model to sustain this league for many years. When I joined the league, I've been saying, we were like just surviving, and now we went from survive to thrive.
But the players weren't buying it. Almost immediately after Cathy Engelbert made that claim, Gabby Williams of the Seattle Storm jumped on social media and called it out. She made it clear those numbers were wildly misleading because, yes, a very small group of top stars like Brittney Griner can get close to $700,000, but only if you add everything together: their WNBA salary, sponsorships, endorsements, overseas contracts, and brand deals. The reality: the average player is lucky to clear $70,000 a year in base salary from the league. That's not exactly life-changing money for professional athletes playing at the highest level. And that disconnect between what the league was selling to the public and what players were actually experiencing only made the tension worse. And then last season hit, and it was a disaster. The officiating was all over the place. Fans were watching some of the worst calls they'd ever seen. Players were getting hacked, shoved, knocked to the ground, and somehow there were no whistles. Star players were going down with injuries, and instead of protecting them, the league looked the other way. One fan summed it up perfectly in a viral post: the WNBA is starting to feel less like basketball and more like the NFL. And honestly, they weren't wrong. The physicality was up, the fouls were inconsistent, and the league's silence just made it look like chaos was being allowed to happen.
Is someone supposed to score when this is what is being allowed to happen to Caitlin Clark on the regular? How the F is this defense? Is this the WNBA or NFL? Look, hold on now. NFL. What kind of defense is this?
It wasn't just sloppy officiating, it was downright dangerous. The fouls weren't just missed, they were ignored. And the level of contact started crossing the line from competitive to reckless. Even the Washington Post weighed in, saying the inconsistency in officiating was becoming a genuine threat to the sport. That's how bad it got. And what did Commissioner Cathy Engelbert do? Nothing. She didn't check the refs. She didn't tighten enforcement. She didn't even acknowledge the growing concern from players, coaches, and fans. She just sat back and let it play out like it wasn't her problem. And this is where things start looking shady. Because while all of this was going down, Brittney Griner was back on the court, and let's be honest, she is one of the most physical players in the league. That's not even up for debate. She's bigger, stronger, and plays with a physical edge that very few players can match. And yet, when she gets aggressive, the refs swallow the whistle. Take this moment right here as an example. During a game between the Phoenix Mercury and the Dallas Wings, Brittney got into it with an opposing player and turned the whole thing into a full-on brawl. You can literally see her elbowing, shoving, and escalating the contact, and somehow she stays in the game, to a lot of fans. This was the final straw. It wasn't just about bad officiating anymore. It felt like the league was protecting Brittney Griner at all costs, even if it meant putting other players in danger.
And down it goes. And now we've got Brittney Griner going after Anigwe, and this could get ugly. Griner is being held back by numerous players and now trying to throw punches. Agler now is being pushed along the sideline on the press row. My goodness. It has been intense and chippy, and now still going after it and trying to be restrained was Anigwe.
You know, we talked about the easygoing attitude of Brittney Griner. She's had enough of it.
She went nose to nose with Kayla Davis, and now Davis is saying, all right, let's help calm things down.
One fan comment went viral, saying, "What's going on here? This man has been exposed as being abusive and a male. Why is he still a player?" Now, that might sound harsh, but that's exactly where the frustration is right now. People feel like Cathy Engelbert was protecting Brittney no matter what, even if it meant letting other players get hurt in the process. And once again, Cathy stayed silent. She didn't step in to correct the narrative, didn't fix the officiating, didn't reassure the women in her own league that they were safe on their own court. So yeah, when fans say nobody's going to miss Cathy this is why, but here's the part almost no one is talking about. While all of this chaos was playing out, Brionna Jones wasn't just getting sidelined. She was being erased. Interviews she was promised were suddenly canceled without a word. Media appearances vanished from the schedule. Sponsorship deals she had lined up, gone. It was like someone in the league didn't just want Brionna quiet. They wanted her invisible. And instead of staying silent, Brionna spoke up, and that's how we got here. Cathy Engelbert in handcuffs, facing allegations of covering up one of the biggest gender scandals professional sports has ever seen. But here's the thing, this isn't over. Because Brionna didn't just call out Cathy, she named names. And if what she's saying is true, the next person to fall won't be a commissioner. It'll be someone way bigger. Someone the league has been protecting for years.